Good morning, it's Brian Whitten and ET Art. I'm very lucky, the sun has just gone away. I might just close that curtain just to take a little bit of the reflections off the screen. I wanted to come back here and talk to you today about some very, very important things. I have linked this directly to the Prime Minister again, and I will unlist it. It is inappropriate to create havoc. And I do realise my channel's very monitored anyway. That's without doubt. What I wanted to talk with you today about was this asteroid here. We will come back to that in a minute, but before going on to that, I wanted to discuss this here. This is the Serapeum, and we've looked at this in the past, and we have in actual fact come to the conclusion that the comet impact, the very first one, I'll do an insert that creates and separates the Antarctic landmass from South America, is here. It only knocks us up 100 kilometres. This is to scale. This is 12 degrees and 10 degrees. It is 1,063 kilometres in 10 degrees. That's how come we know this is 1,000 kilometres. We know this can only be 100 kilometres at most. Okay? It can't be any bigger than that. It can only go up, and it can only go down as far as it can go. It can only go down as far as that as well. The narrow horizontal band of the sun is told you right there that it's 200 kilometres wide. That is the problem. The other thing we are told, and I do not understand, I'll insert a few images. These are the lessons we got from the cross section of the pyramid. I do not understand why I can read that and come up with a conclusion without doubt, and it's easily assessed, that you cannot twist or turn the axis unless the plane of the planet or the plane of the planet is in plane with the sun. That is the only way the axis will tilt with an event like this, and you have to be in the plane of the sun here to do it. Otherwise, any other thing just sends your planet, see you later. I don't understand. You know, bombing this about it. I don't understand how nobody's been able to work out that you couldn't do that. You cannot slow the globe's process by doing this. You cannot twist the axis. You know, this is Hiroshima here, very much in line with theirs, rock, very much in line with the Maralinga atomic test by the British government. This is exactly why you were doing it. It's exactly why you started the war, so you could end it that way. Yet in the lessons, I'll put a few more in here for you. It cannot be done, and I do not understand how you couldn't see that. I could see that. So if you are bombing the line, you must know that what happened. You must know the pyramids were doing exactly what they were doing. So how could you not assess with sensible humans, qualified in the fields, of which I am not, and yet I get the right answer that all you do not? I do not understand that. I do not understand how you've come to the conclusion that that was going to work, because the lessons tell you it doesn't. The only thing you were ever going to succeed in doing was driving the planet out of the solar system altogether, and it would need to be massive. I'll go back to this comet, and here we will discuss the comet. This is an asteroid, and NASA's monitoring at the moment. It says it could cause chaos on Earth. It will actually. It's not going to miss. This will be cut into two and it will be redirected, and it's got a job to do. The lessons we've had in planetary motion, we've been given in the video that I said Power of the Force, where I've said this inserted image here, which is in actual fact Devil's Mountain, is there for two reasons. One, to show you that an unattended whip of motion of the planet hitting the plane of the sun, and this 1,000, in excess of 1,000 kilometres an hour rotational speed quicker, snap every tree on the planet, and would snap a tree as big as depicted in the Devil's Tower, in like that, like a twig. It's not only that, it's going to tell you the size of the wave that's going to come across the continent of America in the event that this whip action is allowed to happen, and it drills the landmass of the Antarctic and blow it up. We've gone through this, and it won't be wrong. That's exactly what happens. The reason they've told us that wasn't because it was ever going to happen. If it was ever, and they knew it was going to happen, they wouldn't have even put the messages here. I wouldn't be here telling you this, and none of it would have been worked out, or at least they wouldn't have had the message. There's no real reason for it, had that been going to be the outcome. So it's not going to be the outcome. That's not the outcome. It's merely there to let you know exactly what happens and what can transpire if they didn't do anything. It is not there to, it is also there to explain to us why they have to do what they have to do. And this is where things get a little bit of a problem. This inserted image now, well actually I won't insert it, I'll go find it. This Egyptian motif or relief is in actual fact indicating to us what happens. In other words, this here is being reflective of these cycles of 6,000 years that get knocked down and back up. And the cycle is 6,000 years long. The reason I wanted to come back here, and I said to you that he comes from wherever he comes from. He comes here, he kicks the cycle off, and he leaves. And he comes back at the end of the cycle. What we're actually seeing though, if we are seeing this as reflective of the plane of the sun, well then when he gets here, he doesn't go. He's here the whole time, on both times. When it's in plane with the sun, and you're on the inner ring of rotation, this man is here, and his people, they do not leave. That is a very important fact to note here. He does not leave. This is where he comes in and puts Atlantis in here. This is what we need going here. This is where we are using the high speed one here. This is where he's doing this. I'm not saying Atlantis doesn't get installed here, but there is extra bits here that need to happen, and they cannot go. They have to stay here the whole time because what's about to happen is far, far worse than I thought. I think we're actually getting some other matters that I will talk to you about. We'll discuss those. We'll also discuss why the comet will be cut in two, and I will tell you where they're going to land and why. I wanted to come back here and show you that, just purely and simply to say he doesn't go. The reason he doesn't go when we come back in line and back in plane with the sun is there is many, many, many things he needs to do continuously to make sure we can live on the planet. That's why he makes sure that the people on the planet, when he gets to here, are going to be dealt with. And I did show you in my last video, Mr. Prime Minister, that there will be trials on the 16th of November. That won't be wrong. That'll be exactly the day that's happening. The reason they have to move quickly is because of that. The other thing is your Pine Gap's not going to be functioning after this. It's from the 16th of November. I can tell you now, Pine Gap will be made inoperative by these people. That will not happen. It will not work. No matter what you've got there, it's going to be dealt with by these people. They'll close Pine Gap the very same day or prior. I would also expect if they're going to have, when they get here to do these trials, I'll do an insert for you of the image that I said is going to be trials. We see 97 come up there. It's not quite 99, and it's not quite, 3 lots of 33. But it won't be wrong. The 2, that it's less, and not just for the getting to my birthday, it might be the 2 that it's less. Maybe you and you're off-sider, so you're the 2 that need to be in the street where you are. I hope so. But I wanted to let you know that. I'm going to go and show you a couple of pictures. Now, the reason I put these 2 files up, I've said to you when I worked out that the 1st of the 7th, as portrayed on this rock here, where it changed from 4, which are Roman numerals, to the 17, that we can now see, that I had worked out that in actual fact it was 111 years and 1 day since the Tunguska event. Yeah, the very file I'm actually making and the files that I'm making to tell you that are in actual fact numbered what they were. MVI 1111, 1112, 1113 and 1110. There were 4 files that made that file. I was doing this, and this is where you can see the imagery that's behind here. These are the 2 files that came up, MVI 1832, MVI 1833. I don't number these. These just come up in the camera when I'm going to do them. Where I'm doing this here is I'm putting my date of my birthday in here onto the 97 to work out what day it was. I'll admittedly had done this on my own computer, so before I did it I knew what it was, but I didn't know what this was. I'm going to play these 2 files for you and I'll show you what happens. Now make note of them. They're 1832 and 1833. Now I've just opened up the folder where those 2 files are copied onto this disc so that I can play them for you. This is, I know it's a bit difficult for you to see that, but it will come up down here when I press play. So you'll come up and see 1832 come up here. And I'll play that file and you watch what happens. You can see what I'm going to do. Do you see how long that was? I didn't do that. I didn't press a button there and think, oh, it did it on its own. That camera's gone click, record, click off, so that the next file that I pressed was 1833. Just like it has come up and said, your card's full. It's doing it on this device, on my camera, because it's not a wireless device. They're saying that they can talk to microprocessors anywhere, all of them. That's what they're doing. I don't know why they're showing me that again, because I didn't need to, I didn't need any convincing. What I'll do now is I'll play the other file and you'll see what I mean. It's exactly as I said. I'll open file and I'll play the one 1833, right? This file here, if I check the properties, we'll see if there's anything here. This is the time I pressed, well, this is time 24 minutes ago, you see, 3/19/32. Okay, so that's the time I did it, Saturday 7th of September. Okay, so it was modified. That was the date I created it. At 3:19:32 PM, look at the properties on the other one. Its size is only 5.09 megabytes. Okay, so 5.1 megabytes. If I check the properties of the other one, 2019, 324.59, 324.59, 3/19/32. So, there's 24, so that's a very, very unusual thing. Now I'm going to play the file, 1833, which is, by the way, remembering that I made this discovery of the light from the side in the very first instance on my birthday. And where was it? It was at Patonga, 33 degree latitude. I put my date of my birthday in the uploaded date, which was September 11th. Sorry, not September 11th, August 11th. Put my date on it, add my birthday, because I'm adding that to the the 97, as we saw displayed in the trials. 97 trials. I had 97 for days, and it comes up with my birthday. 12 months later, exactly 12 months later, to the day that I made the discovery shining the light from the side. And that's exactly what I'm doing. And yet the file that it is, it's 1833. 18 is 3 6s, 33 is your degrees, your masons. And that was what the file was getting called, the Masonic Trials. Once again, it's done exactly the same thing. And that is not me, I'm not doing it by planning it, it happens. And they've made a file just come in and disappear and go to make sure that file is numbered 1833. They are Masonic Trials, and they will be on that day, the 16th of November, exactly 12 months to the day I discovered you can shine the light and the truth will be revealed by the light. Before I go on and tell you where these comets are going to land and tilt the globe the way it's supposed to be done, I wanted to show you a couple of photos. I actually went and took these this morning. About 2 years ago, the Manning River didn't flow in the middle of summer. That was the first time ever. Nobody's ever seen that happen up here, as long as the people that I was talking to were more senior than I, and I'm 60, had lived in this area all their life. And the Manning, one of the reasons I actually came up here was initially was I wanted to breed fish, and was thinking about rural property, but I was a little bit older, a little bit tighter, and I thought, oh, I don't really want to do that much work. And my son didn't seem really interested in farming. And so what happened was about 2 years ago, the Manning River, and this is the main Manning River here that comes down through Wingham, this is this morning, in the middle of winter, and there is nothing flowing out of the river here. It was bad enough for that to happen 2 years ago. I'm not a big global warming advocate. I'm not saying global warming doesn't exist. It's pretty hard to ignore, but the reasons why we're getting told it's carbon is just to get the private ownership of public resources more and more so, as if they haven't sold off and stolen enough of the stuff we've put our ancestors, or I should say our grandfathers and fathers and grandfathers and great-grandfathers have paid taxes to build the things, and we're getting people running our world now. They're just flogging off the resources, putting them into private enterprise, running up national debt. That's what they're doing. I want to show you these though, and show you what's going down here, because this is really quite amazing to see what happens here with these pictures. This is a spring-fed river called Dingo Creek. Even in the middle of the summer drought we had 2 years ago where the Manning stopped, this still flowed with water because it's spring-fed. There's not even any water running down this, and this is the middle of winter. There's no even, that's the water, wherever it was coming from under the ground, is even not running. So, and the countryside is all like this. It is barren. There isn't a blade of grass to be seen anywhere up here. And we actually had a good rainfall, a real good storm with rain about 2 days ago, a week ago. Would have been a one decent rainfall. It's the only thing we've had in months and months. As you can see, this is what it's like everywhere, and you can see that's once again looking down onto the spring-fed creek I told you about, Dingo Creek. This is the one I've shown you in other photographs before. I go fishing here. There's not even any water running down. This is spring-fed, this one. The entire countryside here. This is the Manning River here, but this is fed with the tide here. This is still tidal flow, but you can see I put this in here so you can see the farmlands. Very, very, very dry everywhere. Once again, give you an indication of what we're looking at up here. So it's pretty hard, and it would be pretty stupid of me to say that global warming doesn't exist. We have, the reasons for them, though, are totally different. I wanted to show you that because, and it's silly as it might sound, you might think, did they make that like that just because of me and my message? I think I had to learn something with this. As much as I was denying global warming, I wasn't denying global warming, but just reckoning the CO2 element is a load of rubbish, and quite frankly it's more to do with the positioning of rich people's ability to own the electricity grids in other countries. Why would anybody want to do that to their own countrymen? I do not know. Putting somebody else's, the economy of your country into the hands of others does not gel with me. That's a bloody stupid thing to do. But we are seeing this. And you could say, well, yeah, sure, Brian, they're going to change the weather where you live. I'll tell you what happened. This is no lie. I moved into here about 6 years ago. I came up here because there was a UFO came in out of space, and I saw it come to my house. Then I thought, well, and then it headed north. I know that sounds stupid. I headed north. I've had a neighbour that was over here, about 4 houses down, asked me one day, did you get some visitors last night, Brian? I said, no. Why? She said, I woke at 3 o'clock in the morning and there was a UFO behind your house on the school oval. So what happened? So maybe it's not a stupid thing, because the other thing, the lady on this side who's lived in this street all her life, we have a colony of bats over here, just south of here, directly south, right behind me. There's a colony of fruit bats. She's lived in this street all her life. From the time I moved in here, she said, "You're weird, man, ever since," that's what she said. I didn't say, well, I was weird. She said, "Ever since you've moved in here, Brian, something is going crazy." She said, "Well, I've lived here all my life," she said, "in this street, and I've watched these bats fly over my house every day. For 40 years they've flown over here. Ever since you've moved in, they never fly over here anymore the way they used to." And they didn't. They were flying across our houses here and going in one big circle there and going around in circles, then flying from there to another circle over there and going around in circles there. Then they'd go from there down to there and do another circle. So they were actually doing 3 circles in the sky in them leaving, and then they would fly straight. I know that sounds bloody stupid, but that's exactly what was happening, and it was in the process of me learning this, or what was going on here. So it's been there's been some very, very peculiar things happen, not just the numbering of files or the card full situations on my camera. I've had Google Earth show me, I swear the images must have been 10,000 years old. You know, I was looking at the outback of Australia with pyramids and buildings and structures, and I'm going around and thinking, why is nobody seeing this? So I tag it all up and label it. I go back in again, it's back to the way it used to be, but my tags are still there. So that's the sort of things that I've had happen on my own computer. I'm not crazy, they're doing it to let me know they can do it. I don't need to know that. I've seen it happen enough now. So whether or not you believe it or not, I don't know. It's a very, very unusual thing. I want to show you one other thing. With the location of the comet, or the comets, there will be 2. I'll show you initially where they're going to land, or why they have to, because they have to. And I won't be wrong with this, and it's a pretty big problem, but not something that's undoable. Everything is manageable, providing we do it correctly. And I would expect, without doubt, if we make the right decisions, and I mean by you boys and girls at the top here, you need to make the right decisions to get the help we need, because I'm not kidding, without the help, a lot of people are going to die. I don't think that's our intent. And even with I will come back and I'll show you those, the trials. When those trials take place, they're going to be on that day, and I would expect, whether you have any control at that point, Mr. Morrison, I don't know what's going to happen there. I do see 97, not 99. If it was 99, maybe I would have had the forethought 2 days early to put the video up. It certainly isn't 99, and that could be associated with 3 lots of 33. But it's possible that you and your offsider are actually on the right team, or it could be the fact that the deception on my media account just appears to be deception to me. I don't know. The reason I've done this, I addressed the Queen of England, man, in the efforts of the royals, or whoever it is that was coming over here and deciding to bomb this line of longitude. It's pretty hard to believe. This is in the mid-60s here. You were the Queen of England. I would expect you knew full well why this was taking place. I could be wrong, man. But whether it be the case or not, the irony is the hidden history, hidden from the rest of mankind, is in actual fact your downfall. Because in actual fact, if you had spread the news and people had been aware that as well as we needed to be, that is the very point of the impact of the last event. This one was used to drive the planet down, which was the T2 event in the cross-section of the pyramids. This one here, I'll insert it for you. T2 is on the left side. It is the movement and propulsion of the planet down, away and a break away from the magnetic plane of the sun. this is where that impact begun. It is 1776, the very year America left, the very day they left the Crown of England, 1776 kilometres back there to London. I'm sorry, man, that the meteor is going to land there, and how much devastation is going to be caused in the English landmass here, okay, and how much of this is going to be left, because that's where that comet's going to hit, right there, and right on that line of meridian on London is where that's going to happen. It has to, okay, it's not, albeit we see the comets coming at your head, in the Queen's head, or in this picture, it's an inserted image. See, initially I thought this was two comets coming at the Queen of Egypt, the one that actually created the Mediterranean here. But we've already gone through the process that I can shine the light from a different angle on that very same image, ma'am, and it turns into you. And I've had the other message, this one here, that was to you, Prime Minister Morrison, about the bridge being blown up. This one here was to President Trump about, you know, look at it's got a skull sitting underneath the Statue of Liberty and a man working in a sewer pipe. That has changed. I will go and show you what that has changed to. It's changed, I'll say what it's changed to. I put the letter 20 in there. So in other words, all that string just rearranged itself, and when I shone the light in, it had the letter 20 with two lines going to the top of the 0 and the 20. The two lines are the two comets. So there will be two comets. That's going to be one of them. The amount of landmass, the amount of problem this is going to cause here is major, obviously. Once this event happens, it's been told us in Easter Island, that's how much landmass is going to be left here after the event. It has to be that big. It's going to take the entire landmass away, and saying to you what's going to be left is going to be what Easter Island is. Easter Island is built where it was. It has to be, because it's no other landmass there, and they've got to get out beyond the equator. The only way you can do that is build Easter Island. That's exactly what they've done. Now, whether they're going to rebuild Great Britain, I don't know. If I believe everything I read, and I don't believe everything I read nor get told, I use logic. But if in actual fact some of the behaviour over there, and I do say that because I know I've seen pictures of my own relatives sitting in Christchurch Grammar. Okay? I have no doubt that that's true and real. And part and parcel of the US bases all over the world are not so much for, you know, border defence. They are for the transportation of children around the globe without the required documents for travel. That's what it's about. If what I'm hearing goes on in respect to the children that have moved in and around, I'm not kidding, I don't think they'd ever build this thing back again. But having said that, I can't see them coming down here and giving us all this warning and want to kill everybody on there either. Okay, now they're saying they're going to have trials. They're going to be 97 trials on my birthday in this country, and they will be Masonic trials. That's why I said the file name. It's 1833. It will be Masonic. Okay, the 66633 will be the 97 members that are tested and tried on that day, and it'll be in this country, and I will show you why. Now I'll just kick that video off, and this is where we get the 97 come up in here. 97 gets written there, and this will be the trials. This is the man kneeling down, and we've gone through this part before, and I said it's going to be in Australia because there's actually a kookaburra's head there. See that? When I get the light right, it's a kookaburra's beak, and there's his eye. It'll be in Australia, and I would expect at the time that that happens that Pine Gap will not be functioning if that's on the 16th of November, and that will be this year. They need the time. And now I'm going to tell you why. And the reason why I showed you those images of it being so dry in our area here. And this is just a story of, it's actually on the independent news here, but it's actually seen this a few places. What I wanted to do here was show you that in this story here we've got astronomers take a closer look at a megastructures orbiting star near the Milky Way. It's what they believe is something built around the outside of a star. That they think there's actually main megastructures built around stars. We're going to see something very, very similar to this, very, very, very close to our own planet, very, very shortly. And I will explain, which is why I put those pictures in of how dry it is here. I think whether or not that was driven by that, I know that sounds ridiculous, but quite frankly, they have to do quite a lot of things, including white, drawing these white lines on this rock. It wasn't me, that they needed to make a point, and they needed to make it to me because I was working this out. I don't know why. But I know why, and what else is going to happen. We've got a major problems why they don't leave. We have problems with, even if our moon comes closer to the planet, volcanic activity, with a very narrow 200 wide horizontal band of magnetism must do far more. And I think somebody sent me something, a link from a woman. I don't know how I got this video. It was uploaded a year ago with no views, and yet it came to me as an unlisted video on my link page, and it was actually that made me realise what was going down. This is what's going to have to happen. I will show you what is going to happen. I'm hoping the understanding of this actually ends the drought. I know that sounds silly, but I've had some weird things happen, I can tell you, but I would see that is a possibility, that I've worked this out now and maybe a drought up here might finish. When we're in the Tirumali Zone complex in India here, and what we're looking at is the movement of 3 planets. In other words, the other star being hurled out has taken out a planet here. It's arrows here. I thought there was a planet here taken out. I'm not 100% sure. To me, it looks to me, and I said to you, that it looks like Mercury's been put there. I thought initially Mercury was the one that caused the problem. I thought, well, if you could move Mercury or move the planet or could do whatever it was you could do at the time, why didn't you just make Mercury miss? It wasn't that, it was the other star going out, and the reason for it happening was unseen, which is why the other ring of rotation is at 186,000 miles, because it's the speed of light, 186,000 miles per second. That's why it's out there. That's not the only reason it's there, nor is it the only reason Mercury is in here. I want to talk to you about the placement of Mercury. I'm not an astrologist, but any of you people out there that go and look at the way our Earth spins around the Sun now properly, I think you'll find what happens on the day that I've said the crossing of the plane occurs, which is the 24th of the 12th at 3 a.m. in the morning, Central Australian time, that at the crossing of the plane of the Sun, which is then, that this situation is that Mercury will be dead in line with Earth. I'm absolutely certain if you go and check that, that'll be the case. And I think the reason I wanted to show you that megastructure is I think we've got major problems even with the Atlantis, around the ocean. That's one thing, but you've got to stop the landmass. I'm honestly getting a feeling that if they actually didn't do this, it might even be, this could be like a ray, like a laser, to the point that it's actually that strong it just burns. I don't know. I'm thinking that that's what it is. It's a major problem, a very, very major problem, that UV rays or whatever, they're getting really, really high all over the planet at the moment in areas where shouldn't be. They're getting UV readings of 14 or 15 in northern Alaska or southern Alaska. It shouldn't be like that. And I'm thinking we have got major problems, and I think what we're going to do, and why we've had Mercury placed where it was, it's been placed there just like Earth gets placed beyond Mars. It's been placed there, and I'm absolutely certain if you go check, it'll be in line at this time, at the 24th or the 12th, that when we come to meet the plane of the Sun, we'll be in line with Mercury. The reason we're in line with Mercury, Mercury is going to go under some rather heavy construction. And what they're going to do is line that up so that it is in line with the rotation of the Earth the whole time. And they're going to build something around it and use it as the base to build a structure around it to minimize the sun's effect on the planet. That's one other thing they have to do. I feel certain that that's the case. Absolutely certain that there's another reason that Mercury's where it is. Go and check your times, check your dates. 24th or the 12th, it should be in line with Earth, and by the time it actually gets there, like I said, we've got a lot to do. These people have got a lot to do. That's why I'm saying they've got to move now. That's why it's 16th of November is going to be the right time, because there is so much to do. It's not just that. Now, the other problem is this. I wanted to bring this image back up again. It was one we discussed in the last unlisted video. I'm pretty certain it's only in that one. And I said to you what they did was indicate here that if we're on the outer ring, so we're not 40 million miles beyond Mars here, the first 1,000 years, the second 1,000 years, and after the second 1,000 years, in between there, the second and third 1,000, they stand the globe up here, and it comes in from here with civilization being put on. The Asians are getting put on here from Mars. The Egyptians are getting put on 1,100 years after that point, and that they're restocking the planet on the way back in here. But it's already standing up straight, with a straight axis. And it's coming into the plane of the Sun with a straight axis. Why are they doing that? They're doing that because they're telling you it has to come in with a straight axis. That's why that's like that, and that is our problem. And this is why I put this here. Our problem is, and why they have to tilt the planet, is it can't. If they ran it without any tilt on the axis, on the sequence it's just done, there is nowhere to live on the planet. There is nowhere on the planet where you get 12 hours a day and 12 hours at night. You get dark on one half to the equator or light on the other, and vice versa. There's nowhere in that pointer, in that centre period where you get the right thing. So they stand it up here, stood up, coming in this way. It's fine. It's just like, almost like what we're like now, you know. But it's coming into the plane, and they've got it straight coming into the plane with a straight axis, and they're telling us it has to have a straight axis. I'm going to go back to the Serapeum now, and I'm going to tell you what it means, because the Serapeum means more than one or two things. That is there and done and stood up 2,000 years here into this coming back motion for a very, very good reason. It's to tell us the axis needs to be straight. The only people that could traverse would be the ones, nomadic tribes. Stay in a place where you can live. They would have had to have moved. You couldn't have had a civilization living anywhere on that sequence had we not had the tilt on the axis. So the tilt was necessary, but coming in here, it is unwanted, and that is why we have two comets on the way to the planet, and they have to hit, because what is in the planet that stops the whip motion does not work with a tilted axis. I've just brought an image of the Serapeum layout again, and I've put the one up with the timing. I wasn't wrong when I said to you the time here. We calculated this, that each one of these boxes was 500 years. And in the event of the whole event here taking 500 years, we said, okay, well from there to there's 200. And then we said it took 300 years, which was the T4 timing, to go from the 10 degrees out to the 24 degrees of axis tilt. That this was an actual fact, recording the axis tilt and using a reference that is in another building 12 miles away as the reference. But trust me, this is doing exactly as I say. And I calculated coming back in, we were looking at 150 years to come back to this point, and only because we say, well, we knew the 24 degrees was here for the entire 6,000 years, and we also knew that each one of these was 500, and that was purely in there to give us a start point here, to give us how long it took to come back, because it wasn't going to take out here. We know that these are all 24 degrees, these for hundreds of years, so we're saying, okay, it only took from that point to here, was going to take 150 years, and therefore it took 70 to go half. So in other words, if we were 24 out here, to get to 12 was going to take us 74 years. That wasn't wrong. The problem is for that to happen, you do hit the plane of the sun with a crooked axis. The whip speed is absolutely, like I said, 1000 RPM or 1063 kilometers faster than we're turning, and that kills everybody. Tidal waves 1,000 feet high, huge, right across the land masses, and everybody dies. That is with the device and the Earth twisted off axis. In other words, what's happening in here, they have to make the planet straighten up before it gets to the plane of the sun, and that is why that comet that we are seeing is going to be cut into two pieces, and you will see it cut into two, and it will change direction on both after it's cut into two, so you'll know exactly that is the case. They will do exactly as they did with the Saxahuman walls. I will show you now, I'll just do an insert, that the Saxahuman walls are tracking the three comets that tilted the axis last time. That is exactly what they're doing. They were there to tell us that the globe needed to speed up. Why? Because we were just finishing the slow cycle. It is this that is the fast cycle. And here they are telling us what they have to do to get the thing inside that globe to work. The globe needs to be straight when it comes to the plane of the sun. And what we're looking at here is hours. We have to go from there to there in 12 hours. That's what we have to do. We have to get to this is what's going to happen. So we're going to land a comet here in London. 24 hours later, there's going to be another one here. That second one there is going to be in New York. I would expect Ellis Island is the place it's going to be. And that's not guesswork, it's probably pretty logical, owing to the fact that this inserted image here does have skulls underneath the Statue of Liberty, and a man fixing a drain pipe there, because that's where Mr. Trump is from. President Trump, his hometown is New York. That's why President Trump is the President of America. It's his hometown. Just like we see this inserted image here, looking like it was the Egyptian queen, once again with two comets coming. One is for her and the other one is for Mr. Trump. It is not, like I said, it's irony that you've hidden the truth from us all and found that in actual fact now the comets that you were landing here were actual fact needed to land on your doorstep, madam, or ma'am I should say, on the very day, at the very time. It was the only way you were ever going to twist the axis. This has to happen, because the other outcome, if this doesn't happen, everybody dies. Now, like I said, Easter Island has been made. Whether they remake Great Britain, I don't know. I'm absolutely certain that they will tell us what their intentions are. Assistance, I would imagine, like I said, is very, very dependent on how the leaders behave. So how Mr. Morrison acts and moves will be very dependent on what they do. This has to happen, so this is going to happen. It's not going to happen. They're going to hit the globe, and one will be London, the other will be New York Harbour, and I will tell you the date and the time. We'll go through a little bit of math first, as boring as that is. Now, I've just brought the calculator up for a bit. We have worked out that each day the planet moves up towards the plane with 67.6 kilometres a day, okay? And that is what worked out as. If I multiply that by 3, it says that we're 200 kilometres wide. That's what I said to you, that the plane of the sun is 200 kilometres. That's exactly correct. If it was 3 days to move. And that's exactly what it is. It takes 3 days to get from the bottom of the plane of the sun to the top of the plane of the sun. The very point in time that we cross it, therefore, is 3 days before the top of the plane of the sun. The crossing of the plane of the sun that we've worked out by the parchment, I'll show you that now. Now I've just brought up the top of that parchment now. This is the part where the Egyptian parchment that we had that set our date and the time of the crossing of the plane was actually, this parchment was amazing. And it's the 24th of the 12th at 3:30 AM Central Australian time. That won't be wrong, that'll be exactly correct. What I wanted to show you that was that we're saying 3:30 AM on the 24th. So we go back a day, we want to go back 3 days now. We know the plane of the sun is 200 kilometres wide. We're going to go back here 3 days from that date. 3 days. Morning of the 23rd is 1 day. Morning of the 22nd, 2 days. Morning of the 21st, 3 days. The 20th is the 4th day. The bit of string, I'll insert the best image I've got now. That bit of string changed more than once. It's changed since I took this one because I've taken it. I've got a photo. There's the 20. Don't need to be there anymore, and the string has changed. It's done something else. I'll go and get onto that a little bit later because I think this is important to put up, and I'll get this far done and we'll get it out of the way at the moment. That is what's happening. So the date that those comets are going to hit, one of them is going to hit, the first one will be London, that will be the biggest one. The other one will hit New York Harbour. Okay, that will be exactly what happens. We'll be really, really well up on what we've got to do there. I know it may sound absolutely impossible. You're going to say, Brian, we've got to clean up all of Britain and, you know, it's all going to be gone. We've got to move everybody off the place. In New York, the same, we've got to move everybody away. And it may seem like an absolutely undoable thing, but we're thinking like humans. The people that are coming to do this, a greater majority of them are going to be human. The situation here, when this happens, and you're going to go through this process here and teach us all this stuff to put us back in the ground in 15,000 years, that's not what's going down here. We're getting taught here about this story about going to heaven, body and soul, like Jesus did. That's what we're all going to be doing here. The ones that are good enough on our planet will get to leave. That's what will happen. They populate another world with us all. And the Aboriginals that are in my country that think their forefathers are buried in the ground out there in Australia, they're not. Some of them are, but a greater majority of your ancestors have died on another world, same as mine. That's what's happened. Years and years and years, for thousands of years, millions of years. People, just like you and I, move, and we get the option to leave if we wish, to go to another world. That is what's going on here. That is what happens. Now I've just got an image on the screen now. This is that bit of string. Looks like a bit of string. Looks like it's just sitting there on the rock. How it gets there I don't know. How it modifies itself. And sometimes it's in the rock, sometimes it's on the rock, sometimes it's there and you can't move it. Other times it's loose. I'll show you that. Now just have a look at the, I really did try hard to get the microscope in about the same place. This one here was taken on August 9th. This is a layered rock where the message came to the President and our Prime Minister that this changed when I turned it around. It's the one that gave us both this image here, which then I said to you is, oh actually it's probably not a very clear one, I'll put that one there. That one's probably a little clearer. Where you see the man working on the drain pipe here, and it's got the Statue of Liberty in the background and there's human skulls here. That's the same rock, and look, you can see that there's logic towards the placement of that. It's not just haphazard, it's told a story. The same one if I go back when I rotated that rock round the other way was where I got the other one that was this message here, which was slightly different. This is the Sydney Harbour Bridge, broken. The Carl Expressway, we've got that little windy road here on the southern shore of the bridge. We go round in a circle there to come back up and go back over to North Sydney. This is the Prime Minister's house here. It's actually put a skull there in that one, sir, right by your house. It's probably not a good sign. Anyway, but there's logic to it. I want to show you that. Now we'll go back to this one. Okay, so that's August 9th. Now I'll go to this one, which is the ones I took today. That's today, or Monday, September 9th. So there's a month later, and it's obviously changed, hasn't it? You see what we're seeing here? Now I'll go back to August 9 again, and we'll get them almost in the same place. See the difference? Now this is with the microscope light too. It's significantly different, isn't it? Yet it's the same place on the rock. That's why I'm leaving this bit here. You can see it's very different. And then yet, the logical placement here is also telling me something else. This is the image I wanted to show you. See this? 20. And that little line there is not one line, it's actually two lines. This one here, that's why I was saying to you, we're going to take two in the Northern Hemisphere. There. It's actually two lines going in, and that circle there is saying the date it's going to happen, the 20th. It has to happen on the 20th because it's the day we meet the plane of the sun. The reason I wanted to come back here and show you that is, like I said, the changes between here and there. And I'm not going to... there are technologies on these rocks at times I really do sit here and ponder how they do it. It's hard to say that's not logical. I want to show you something because I actually recorded a video I noticed, and I thought I'm going to just blow on that and see what happens in the process of doing something. So what I'm going to do while we finish up, I'm just going to start that video off, or a video. I'll just put another rock onto there, I have a little bit more to say. So I am very, very surprised by that situation. Why it still happens that we've got, you know, a situation only, well, it's happening now, or you're bombing places, still trying to tilt the axis. That's why you're bombing in Iraq and Afghanistan and all these places. That's on the other line of longitude that you needed to look at. Ironically, the one is that it's one London's on. It's 1,776 kilometres from the last impact for a very good reason. It's going to tell you where it is, it's why it's on the rocks, and it's telling you it won't be wrong. I've just put this up, and this is what's going to happen. They will be here very, very shortly. The message is on the rocks. They'll be here in our country. They will make Pine Gap not work. They have separated our landmass for that purpose. The only way to get here is going to be by water, so you're not going to get very far. You won't be able to fly anything in. And that's what's going to happen, I would expect. And I did send something to the Australian, South Australian Premier recently. It was about opening up and digging a channel between Lake Eyre and the ocean. There's another lake there in the middle. There's a lake, what is it? I can't remember. There's another lake there. One of them's about 12 or 11 metres under sea level. That's plenty good. That's plenty of lake, plenty of salt water. Lake Eyre itself, I think in the middle is about close to 30 metres below sea level and huge. I don't understand why we don't fill them up with salt water, and the evaporation will drop a lot more, you know, rain on the western side of the Great Divide and put our water back in our rivers again, all for the sake of digging a couple of channels a couple of 100 miles. I'll be honest with you, I'll show you a couple of things, inserts here that Michael Tillinger has looked into a lot of these things in Africa, which are stone circles that he perceives are possible power. I'm not saying he's not right. Like I said, these people have got 10 reasons for everything. But if we stop and ponder why these are here, I actually think what they're going to do is not kill anybody, quite frankly. They might be, but I just can't see that. There are way too many messages here for a situation to be they'd come down here and kill everybody. I just think that you people are going to be put from where you were, like the Queen of England, if you're alive, or people like you, ma'am. You won't be sitting in Buckingham Palace because it's not going to be there. You may think they might rebuild the landmass and put you back on it. I would expect they may very well build the landmass, ma'am, but I wouldn't expect that you're going to be put back on it, I would think. If in actual fact what is going down here is real, you're not going to kill 100 million people trying to bend the globe and let you go free. So you'll probably be the royals, I would expect. Anybody, not just the royals, anybody on the globe that is into this satanic, devil worshipping, child murder and rape and such things will be in jail. And that's why I bring these things up about Michael Tillinger. We might be looking at a jail there. I would expect that maybe they're going to turn I would suspect they're going to turn the inland of Australia into a food bowl. That's what I think they're going to do. I say that because of these things that you see in Africa. Okay, there's a lot of farming going on in Central Africa at some point. Would have been at the end of the last civilization, and it would have been a large left unpopulated landmass that was turned back into, prime, land for growing food. And their parchment itself says we're going to go from 4 billion, 4.5, 5 billion or thereabouts to 16 billion within the end of our period. And that's what's on the planet here, it's not what's somewhere else. So I would strongly suspect from this point forward there'll be those amongst us that are judged well enough and good enough to to make the transformation move, given the opportunity, go and live in another world, in another solar system, in another star system. I have a feeling all of us, from the point of this transition and however long it takes to get the next generation and the one we've got now well and truly trained, that we will be doing this. My son can be flying one of those. He's looking to get a license. I have a feeling the license he's going to have is going to fly a lot more or drive or help him participate in driving far more vehicles than a petrol-driven car on the Earth's surface. Certainly in his lifetime. I didn't think it would happen in mine. The irony is I used to sit down and talk to my son when I could no longer read the books that I had because of my vision being a little bit difficult, which strangely enough is I don't wear glasses anymore. I just stopped wearing them and I can still see properly again. I used to sit and make stories up. And the stories that we would make were about him being a little boy, having friends and going off and finding a UFO on the moon. And all these such stories like this is what I used to read to my son. Or not really read to them, make them up. Every visit he had, every second weekend. And he would remember the story from the fortnight beforehand. Where were we, son? I'd say, oh, you up to here, Dad? Oh, okay. And I would go on, and it was a continuing story. These 4 people that lived in the country ended up going out. He ended up at Willow, this person in the story, whose name was Willow. Ironically, I have a kid next door called Willow when I moved here. Willow was the person that found the UFO, and he ends up marrying somebody and another alien from another planet. And this was way before all of this stuff happened, so we've seen some unusual things. Some of the imagery that we've seen on some of these rocks has been absolutely unbelievable. This is the one, actually it's good that this has come back up here. I do want to stop here, and this is what I was saying to you. The situation is when we're seeing 2 comets come in on this vision here of this city, this turns into a view of a lake and a city here. a volcano here and a couple of comets up here. I refocus this here. And what I want to do is show you when I first get this going and get it in the right spot. I'll just stop that right there. Oops, right there. And I'll just zoom that back. But this is what I actually wanted to show you why I believe they have to be here early enough. It's not just to build the thing around Mercury. Okay, there's a lot to be done in the planet. And this is where you can see the underwater part here. It's reflecting the comet off in the water. That's why I wanted to stop. I'll just make sure that you can see that in the viewfinder. Okay, yeah, that's pretty good. You can see that there. That's under the water. And that's why I'm saying to you, I brought it to your attention before. This is before the comets have hit. And this is under the water. Alright, so what this is doing is what they're telling you. They can protect the coastlines from the tidal waves. Okay, so they've got to hit where they've got to hit. And that's why they need to get here soon enough to do all they've got to do. They've got to do a lot. They've got to protect every coast of every continent. That's why they have to have these decisions made. They have to get you to move, because if they don't, they've got to do what they've got to do, because the outcome is 1,000-foot tidal waves across every landmass on the planet, and we have to sacrifice Great Britain and New York Harbour will have a comet this big hitting it. This is the one in Central Australia. It is the middle comet. The reason it was the first comet last time is because it's going to be the last comet this time. That is how big the thing is going to hit New York is. So President Trump is not anything personal, it's just that's where it has to land, and it is from a geotechnical sense, and same as it is in London. It is ironic that the quietness and the untaught history has, in actual fact, led to the very comets required to tilt the globe on your doorsteps. That is bad news, but not letting it happen is far worse. That's all from Brian Whitten and ET Art. I won't say this is the last video because I've said that many times, and it is a situation where that may not be the case. So I won't say it's the last one. I will let that play out and let you watch what comes in here, because once again it is really quite a spectacular view. Once I start moving the light around on this one, you see a city come out in here. In actual fact, if you get it right, I'll let that play. When I get this right and get the light down here, you can actually see in this one here they've got underground trains and whatnot. There's actually a train pulled into the station on the bottom of one of these. It's actually, you don't quite see it until I get it in exactly the right spot. But what you're seeing there is exactly that. You're seeing the city, you're seeing two comets come in, and you have a device here already under the water. And that's what they're going to do. They need the time. That's all. Thank you very much, Brian Whitten and ET Art, and I will see you next time. Take care.